香るね。
Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Muhammad Zaiman bin Mazan, and I'm going to talk about the introduction. Hi, this is the part of the introduction. The sport that we take is 1500 meters run. This run is a medium running. Now, this sport involves three metabolic energy, which is the first is carbohydrate, the second is lipid, and the third is protein. Now, we talk about carbohydrate. Carbohydrate have a backbone of carbon atom with hydrogen and oxygen that will attach in the same proportion as they appear in water, which is in the bracket 2 to 1. Hence, the name carbohydrate is carbon is hydrated. The function of it has a source of energy, which is to produce an energy to the athlete to running, and also it can support the muscle and give them a muscular strength and also muscular endurance. Now, let's look at graph. This graph is about carbohydrate as an important fuel for muscle. When we are running, the muscle need a carbohydrate to do running. Next is lipid. Lipid have a role of lipid in our body, which is some important function of lipid in body. The function of the lipid in body includes the first is energy reserve. Energy reserve is twice the energy content of carbohydrate, which is from carbohydrate. The second is protection of vital organ. Up to 4% of body fat protects against trauma to the heart, liver, kidney, spleen, brain, and also spinal cord. The third is thermal insulation, which is subatenos fat below the skin provide from insulation. The fourth is transport. It transport a medium for fat-soluble vitamins, which is dietary lipid serve as a source and transport medium for lipid-soluble vitamins such as vitamin A, D, E, and K. And the last is it is hunger suppressor. It takes 3.5 hours, which is 3.5 hours after ingesting lipid to empty them from the stomach. Our body also need a lipid to do a running to support the muscle in the 1500 meter running. Next is protein. Athletes and individual initiating the training program need to be sure to maintain the nitrogen balance. Why? Because when we have a nitrogen balance, we can also have a speed recovery from the strenuous exercise. Second is the protein degradation can increase during exercise, and certain amino acids can be used directly as fuel for ATP production, which is to keep the energy for the athletes and also give the muscle strength and also muscle endurance, and also can avoid the injury. The muscle protein synthesis will be decreased during exercise, because during exercise we are using our muscle, but it will increase during a recovery. Why muscle protein synthesis will be increased during recovery? Because we are not use our muscle and did not do an activity. And the last is training adaptation related to protein metabolism are tested, specified, and occur primarily post exercise. That's all from me. We proceed to the Hizati.
Hi, my name is Fatima Nativity Abdul Latif, and I will play a role for carbohydrates in this later. So, let's start. So, I'm going to explain how carbohydrates operate while he runs 1500 meters running. So, first and foremost, he did take some carbohydrates prior to the beginning his run, and it is where the carbohydrates are broken down into glucose, which is then transported to the skeletal muscle cells. It's phosphorylated to the glucose phosphate in the presence of insulin, and glucose 1-phosphate is formed as a result of this conversion. Also, UTP is the first stage in the formation of glycogen, followed by activated glucose 1-phosphate to produce UDP glucose, and finally a glycogen. Glycogen must be broken down by a single process known as glycogenolysis. This happened because it wanted to deliver glucoside phosphates during the running. It's also typical when the epinephrine and glucagon are present. As previously stated, glucoside phosphate serves as an entry point into glycolysis, of which an ADH pyruvate is produced. But in order to match the performance of someone who exercises at moderate to high level of physical activity, ATP is the most significant. Pyruvate must be converted to lactate in order to maintain high level of exercise, since this phase is necessary for the regeneration of an ADH, which require the creation of ATP in glycolysis. Now, lactate is typically referred to be anaerobic because it is created in the absence of oxygen. Lactate is released from the skeletal muscle cells into the bloodstream and then shuttled to the liver, where it is converted back to the pyruvate. Then, in the presence of the hormone glucagon, pyruvate is turned back into glucose via a process known as gluconeogenesis. So, here, when the carbs are in a short supply, the functioning muscle require a glucose. Here, a Cori cycle is the shuttling of the lactate from the muscle to the liver for a conversion back to the glucose. So, in a conclusion, the Cori cycle emphasizes the interaction of two metabolic pathways, which are glycolysis and gluconeogenesis. Thank you, that's all from me.
Okay, hi, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Hatim Masri. In this role play, I'm gonna play as an athlete for 1,500 meters.
Fat is stored in the body form of triglyceride, which is comprised of three fatty acids attached to a molecule of glycerol. The fatty acid consists of a chain of carbon atoms, hydrogen atoms attached together. There is more stored energy in a gram of fat than in an equal weight of carbohydrate. Typically, around 50 to 60,000 kilocalories of energy are stored in the triglycerides in the entire mass of all of the adipocytes throughout the body. Obviously, there will be more energy stored in an obese person and less in an individual who has a little body fat. Approximately around 100 kilocalories of energy are expended per mile of walking. Because of this, large amount of energy are stored in a relatively small mass of triglycerides. They provide a marvelous way for people to carry fuel as they move from place to place. In contrast, if your energy was stored in the carbohydrate in glycogen, water molecules, which are very heavy, would be bound to the glycogen molecules. In total, energy stored weight more than 100 pounds. Undoubtedly, the storage of fuel as triglyceride has served nomadic human being well in the course of evolution when food was scarce. Endogenous triglyceride represent an important source of fuel for endurance athletes such as for the 1,500 meter athletes. The specific rate is determined by energy requirement of working muscle, fatty acid delivery to muscle, mitochondria, and the oxidation of the other substrates. The catecholamine respond to exercise, increase lipolysis and adipose tissue in triglyceride. In addition, increase the adipose tissue and muscle blood flow, decrease fatty acid re-acidification, and facilitate the delivery of released fatty acid to skeletal muscle. Alteration in fatty acid mobilization and relative use of adipose and intramuscular triglyceride during exercise depend in the large part on degree of fitness and exercise intensity. Compared with untrained person, exercising at the same absolute intensity, person who have undergone endurance training have a greater fat oxidation during exercise without increase of lipolysis. Available evidence suggests that training-induced increase in fat oxidation is due to primarily an increased oxidation of non-plasma delivered fatty acid. Perhaps the intramuscular triglyceride stores fat oxidation is low in high intensity more than a moderate intensity exercise. Parenteral lipid supplementation during high intensity exercise such as the 1,500 meter increased fat oxidation. This review discussed the relation between fatty acid mobilization and oxidation during exercise and the effect of endurance training, exercise intensity, and lipid supplementation on this response.
Hi, my name is Natira binti Abdul Latif. I will play as protein in this role play. So let's see our video. Hi there. Now I'm gonna talk about protein in this role play. Protein metabolism. As you may know, protein play as a small yet significant role in muscle energetic during exercise. The main contributions of proteins came after an exercise and involved the early stages of training adaptations. The athlete did running for 1,500 meters. Right, so how a single bout of exercise affect protein metabolism? So you must wonder, right? Muscle proteins synthesis actually decrease during aerobic exercise. Remember that ATP utilizing pathway such as protein synthesis are inhibited as the energy which is charge drops during exercise, such as to preserve ATP for mechanical works. Proteins may be broken down or degraded during single bout exercise, such as this running, with their resulting amino acids being used for fuels. Carbon skeletals of certain amino acids can be directly used for ATP production in the mitochondria. As you can see, the athlete or runners of their extent to protein degraded will be dependent upon the exercise intensity and duration, as well as the availability of carbs. When carbohydrate stores are low, there will be greater on proteins for fuels. All things can be considered that protein can contribute approximately around 5 to 15% of the fuels required for exercise. Also, protein compose the amino acids that cannot be made by the body, but they came from the dietary sources. If the athlete injured during the match, they can take proteins as well, such as meat, eggs, and tofu to repair their muscle tissue injury. The recommendation for protein of this athlete is 0.8 grams.
Now for the conclusion, the most important metabolic energy is carbs. Why is carb? Carb is the most important energy in our body. What if happen when we did not get enough carbs? You don't know what happened. If you don't get enough carbohydrates, the level of sugar in your blood may drop to below the normal range, which is 70 until 99 mg per ml. It can causing the hypoglycemia. Your body then start to burn fat for energy, leading to ketosis, which is the symptom of the hypoglycemia is hunger. If we did not get enough carbohydrate, our body will be use the fat on our body and then to produce an energy, and then our body will be lean, and we will also to get easy to get a sickness. That's all from us. Thank you.